Good evening and welcome to Spotlight on MX24 television. My name is Nwong Falong. Now, how safe do you feel when you go about the city or anywhere in Ghana for that matter? Now, the Bureau of Public Safety is telling us that crime has increased. There's a report we're going to be getting into shortly, and we will go sector by sector so you can understand how exactly it affects you and the differences from region to region and different kinds of crime. We'll be right back with the details of this. Stay with us.
If you're into content production for digital or TV, say hello to the MX24 Studios. We're the prime location for your music video shoots, live productions, TV shows, and more. From state-of-the-art equipment to a very skilled production team, we've got you covered. Step into our modern and spacious studio with a changeable lighting system and foolproof sound. Our touchscreen studio projection monitors come with other features, including Wi-Fi connection, screen mirroring, and a remote workspace mode. Take advantage of our high-quality cameras to shoot in 4K and a variety of the best lighting equipment guaranteed to put life into your sets. Locate us on the first floor of the Silicon House building off the Boundary Road, East Legon. Give us a call on 024-235-5956 or 054-454-8612. You can also email us at info@mx24gh.com.
Welcome back to Spotlight on MX24. Thank you for staying. My name is Nwong Falong. Before we went on the break, I mentioned we're looking at a report on public safety in Ghana. This is a 2021 edition. It's an annual report by the Ghana Public Safety Commission. It's a Ghana Public Safety and Crime report that comes out yearly. Now, when you compare the 2021 report to 2020, things do not look too good. The data in the report indicates that associated deaths went up 53.7%, representing a very high record jump from the previous 2020 report. We also see that the report also found that in Ashanti region is the region that actually topped the charts for the regions with the most number of crime incidents for the year under review. Ashanti region recorded a lot of murders, returning 23% of all homicide cases reported across the country in 2021. 23% of all homicide cases reported in the country were recorded in the Ashanti region. Now, the Central region also dominated, reported there was an aggravation of assault cases across the country. By returning 23% of all aggravated assault cases reported for the period for Central region. Central region dominating there with an increase in assault cases. Ashanti region dominating with an increase in homicide cases. Also, we see that firearm use in the commission of reported violent crimes increased for the third year running. So, since 2019, 2020, 2021, there's been an increase in the use of firearms. The data also suggests that more than 70% of the top 3 incidents of violent crimes occurred outside the places of abode of the victims. I'm not too sure exactly what that is supposed to communicate to us, but we do have some security experts who will be explaining the data better for us to understand. The Bureau, we know, has also called for a lot of public education to where the report is concerned, also to increase situational awareness and dangers for the public to understand. They've also emphasized the need to expand community policing, suggesting that the state mounts more CCTV cameras so that there will be good footage and monitoring and surveillance to promote not just awareness but also public safety. This is not a very comfortable report for most people, because an increase in crime is not a good thing. But why is there an increase in crime? And why are we seeing these specific patterns that are very specific to different regions? We're going to be speaking with Nana Yakwada, who is Executive Secretary at the Bureau of Public Safety. He's joining us via Zoom. Also, Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar, Executive Director of the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. And then we're going to be speaking with Adib Sani, who's a security analyst. They are both going to be, all three of them will be going into the data properly for us to understand. Now, gentlemen, welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you.
Nana Yao, let me begin with you, because you are from the Bureau of Public Safety, and since this concerns you directly, I would like to know exactly how this report, the research that informed this report was conducted.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, these are reported incidents across the country that were picked from 10 online portals associated with registered entities within the country working under the regulator, the National Media Commission. We pick these stories on a daily basis, weekend and public holidays inclusive. We capture these stories, subject them to a 72-hour validation period, and then once a story, a case is verified or validated, we log it in as data. These are cases that we have picked from the 1st of January 2021 to the 1st December 2021, and which we have analyzed and are looking at the trends and the patterns of how public safety and crime matters came through in the year 2021.
Nana Yao, is this report a good report?
Absolutely. This report is good to the extent that it is no significant departure from what the state entity, record on an annual basis since 2017. So it is instructive to put on record that since 2017, unless that state entity did not issue a report, but whenever our report has been out and state departments, the state entities report has been out, the trends have always been the same. We take, for instance, transportation-related incidents, deaths of road traffic crashes. Year on year since 2017, whenever we record an increase, the state actor also reports an increase. I'm talking of National Road Safety Authority, or the NTTD. When it comes to crime and violent crime, whenever we report an increase, the law enforcement agency also reports an increase, and same with NADMO. So, in as far as the trends are concerned, we have not departed, or the state agency's report has not been a departure from ours. That said, we have indicated, if you read our report, you look at the background, we have said that the definitions that we are working with may not necessarily, some of the definitions may not necessarily fit into the definition of state agencies. And so, perhaps in some instances, the numbers will vary. If you take, for instance, transportation-related incidents, While the Road Safety Authority is reporting a 12% increase, we are reporting something much higher because the figures that we are reporting is not the same as the figures that they have. Same way with the police, then perhaps a murder case may have occurred, which may not, or maybe a robbery may have occurred. That robbery may not have been reported to the police as we have captured it. You understand? So our figures may be different from their figures. But year on year since 2017, the trajectory has been the same. Whenever we see a dip, they also record a dip. And that has been the case. I'm yet to see any report from the police quarters or from the police administration on 2021. We have put ours out there, and I'll wait to see what they will put out there. And I'm certain that if the record of 2017 to now is anything to go by, they will also record an increase. And I give you a typical example. As of August, available from the CID unit of the Ghana Police Service indicated that Ashanti region was the region that was leading in terms of murder cases. Then, come December 31, our report is giving a similar picture. And so you realize, and I wasn't surprised, if you look at their data, they peg Ashanti, Greater, Eastern, and Central as being these top four. In our report, it is always the same. Similarly, if you take an agency like NADI, the kind of data and the appearance of the data that we put out, most of the time, whether we come first or they come first, the trend has always been the same. So yes, this is a serious report, and you neglect it at your own peril.
Nanayao, that's an interesting note to end on. If we neglect it at our own peril, but looking at the data, it seems a little alarming in some areas. Should we be worried about the outcome of the data?
Well, I'll be happy if you walk me through the alarming areas. Then I will put them in proper context for you, rather than maybe just running commentary on that. If you don't mind, I can take them one by one for you. For instance, violent crime reported in 2021 has increased by 14.8%, approximately 41%.
Yeah.
Associated deaths also increased by 53.7%, approximately 54% over 2020. This may be alarming, but these are the facts. These are cases that have occurred in the period, that have been reported and validated. So if it is alarming, then it's time for us to get to work. For instance, firearm use in the commission of reported violent crimes increased. We have said that it increased for the third year running in 2021 by some 58%, okay, over 2020. In 2020, we indicated that, in 2021, we indicated that the use of firearms in the commission of crime increased by 22%. In 2021, we have indicated that it has increased by over 57%. That's 58%. Now, if this does not alarm you, then I don't know what else will. That we have shot from 22% to 58%, I think it's a matter of concern. And the data available supports it. If you speak to Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission, they will confirm to you that indeed the number of firearms getting into the country in the hands of people that the state cannot track or trace is increasing. And so such trends will not surprise them. And so I will reiterate that the report before you today, before Ghanaians today, which is on our website, anyone who will neglect or downplay or water down this report is running at his own peril.
Nanayao, when we look at these occurrences and the relationship between the public and the police, Does the relationship between the public and the police have anything to do? Does it affect the crime rate in any way?
Oh yes. I mean, my friend Adib and Mukhtar on the other line, I think that they will do even better justice to this question. It does a lot of terror. Look, the whole world over, police institutions, their capital is information that they get from the police. The capital to do police work is not guns and bullets. It is information. So when the police lack information, then they fall on the guns and the bullets. Then they will have to wait until the matter is unfolding, then they go there with force. But wherever police have had to work with information, they are always ahead of the crime, they are always ahead of the criminal. And that is what police institutions thrive on. So you must build that relationship with the community for them to be comfortable enough to bring you information to work with. Because the criminals do not live in space. They do not live in the jungle. They dwell among us. And so if that relationship exists, we are able to relay information to the police, and the police take the information from there and run with it.
Nanaya, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, but because we have Mutaru and Adib on the line, I want to go to them in a moment, but please stay on the line with us. So
I would be happy. I would be happy knowing that Adib and Mutaru are there. I know they will give justice to the issue.
Yeah, sure.
I have to, respond to other interviews as well. If you could just wrap up with me and take them on.
Oh, right. That's fine. But to wrap up with you, though, do you think there are ways in which the police could work to reduce these figures that we're seeing? I mean, this year, 2021 has already happened. Maybe going into 2022, 2023, how can these figures be affected? Does your research in any way, is it able to see what caused the increase in crime?
Okay, so your question is in twofold.
Yes.
I'll leave the causal aspect to Adib and Mukhtar to handle. Let me tell you what we think the police can do, or the weaknesses that criminals have identified and they are using. We were able to establish that of all crimes that occurred in 2021, a greater part of it, close to about 80%, occurred outside of people's homes while people were in transit. Why is it so? Because the criminals have seen that the police are no longer on the streets like they used to be in 2013, 2014, and about. The visibility police program, it appears to be collapsing or has collapsed. We have mounted CCTV cameras across the towns and cities. We are yet to see a robust deployment of circulation activities involving people perpetrating crime, soliciting information from the public to help the police apprehend these suspects. We are yet to see those kind of footages, aggressively being circulated. So we think that the police, in addition to the building the community relations with the police, these critical aspects, we believe that the police must, take steps to act on immediately. The year 2022, I believe that by June 30th, 2022, we'll be able to put Dr. Dampare on the chopping board, or who will come, no, not on the chopping board, we'll be able to bring him under the lenses to examine his impact to public safety, or the kind of impact that his actions have had on when we publish the first half report of 2022.
Right. Thank you so much, Nanaya Akwada. He's Executive Secretary at the Bureau of Public Safety. He was just giving us some highlights of the 2021 Public Safety and Crime Report. Not very encouraging figures there. He also mentions that there needs to be a very robust deployment of police within the streets and communities. He also looks at the relationship between the police and the public, is there enough information flowing between the police and the public? If trust of the public is trusting the police more, shouldn't there be more information going to the police? We know that during the State of the Nation's address, the president mentioned he actually commended the police force for increasing the trust of Ghanaians in them. Let's just take a listen to that and come back to the discussion.
We need a responsive police service to boost the confidence of the population. And it is good to see the police rise up to the challenge. Nothing starts people off in a bad mood more than the driving habits and traffic jams that create chaos on our roads and make every road journey a nightmare. Gradually, the police are bringing order to the roads, and we all now know that the law is no respecter of persons or vehicle types. I urge all of us to cooperate with the police to perform their duties to enable all of us go about our lives in peace. I'm happy to state the government has been able to provide much needed modern equipment for the service, and we're tackling their accommodation needs as well. We're constructing 320 housing units at the National Police Training School, which are at an advanced stage of completion. Work is also going on the construction of a huge barracks complex at Kwabinya to replace the one adjacent to the DLA at 37, where the conditions of living are poor. Mr. Speaker, together with the implementation of a number of operational and personal welfare interventions, the morale of police officers has received a considerable boost. And today, public-focused interventions instituted by the Inspector General of Police have resulted in a better police-public relationship. The police service is gradually regaining the trust and confidence of the public under the leadership of its new Inspector General of Police.
And that was President Akufo-Addo during the State of the Nation's address, commending the police there, but also insisting that there needs to be improvement, of course, in public policing. Let me just go to Mumuni Mukhtar, who's Executive Director at West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. I think I've lost him on the line there, but we still have Adib Sani, who's a security analyst. Hello, Adib. Good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Adib, when you look at this report, I believe you've seen the report.
Absolutely, I have.
Okay, my first question though, has the relationship between the public and the police improved?
Marginally, not completely, because I know when IGP Dampari was appointed, one of his first priorities was to bridge the gap between the police and the general population. As a result, a lot of activities and, of course, reforms have been done to engender that relationship based on mutual trust and respect. I think it worked at a point, but everything seemed to disintegrate at a point also, especially with the issue of some officers arrested for engaging in robbery activities, and also in recent times, allegations of people killed by the police, like it happened in Tamale not too long ago, and the inaction of the Ghana Police Service in holding these officers to account. So in one aspect, it was working. Unfortunately, the actions and inactions of the police lately is defeating the purpose.
Adib, I see you alluded to the involvement of some members within the police force in crime, which we have been privy to in the last few months. Do you think this has in any way affected this report, or is still too early to say?
Well, it's early, but in the past we've also had...
All right. We're having issues with Adib's line there. Adib, can you hear me? Okay, we're going to try to reconnect with Adib shortly, but we are discussing the report on public safety and crime, and it was released by the Bureau of Public Safety. In the report, we noticed that violent crimes went up by 40%, a very alarming revelation there, not a very good thing to be noted. It also shows that there was an increase in crime. You see also that crime, especially in the Ashanti region, with murders went up significantly, also in the central region. Another alarming aspect of the report is the increase in handling of firearms by the public. I'm not sure if that is a very good thing, but we still have Muntari Mumuni Mukhtar on the line. Mutaru, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Okay, the line dropped earlier there, but since you've joined us, if you can just give us a quick overview of the report from your angle.
Well, we're talking about a report that relates to increase or incidence of crimes in the system.
Yes.
And more worryingly, the issue of weapons in the system in the hands of people who should not have it. We've seen the very destructive role of illegal weapons in the system for a very long time, and the fact that we are seeing an increased uptake in terms of illegal weapons in the system should be a big source of worry to all of us.
But Mutaru, there's
seeing the future.
Sorry, there's a counter argument that usually the increase in arms in the hands of people means they're better able to defend themselves. Isn't that the case?
It's a poor argument. We have a state that is mandated to provide security for all citizens. And if the state is unable to do that, or if you feel a sense of insecurity, of course, you would find citizens looking at ways to protect themselves. But it does not in any way imply that citizens are in a better situation to protect themselves because they have weapons in their hands. So it's a poor argument to have. We have wished that the point is about how can we retool the state to provide security for all citizens, to ensure a general sense of stability and security for everyone to go about their lives peacefully and conveniently. And that should bring us to the table for all of us to look at how we make our society and community safer. There's also the issue of the feature of Accra and Kumasi as the centers, of crimes. And this necessarily, it's not a surprise to me. These are the two biggest highly populated areas in the country. These are the most active business centers in the country. These are the two most urbanized centers in the country. And urbanization inherently comes with crimes. And so this is not a surprise at all. What we need to do is how do we ensure comprehensive and effective security measures to bring down the rates and incidence of crimes in this centers. And especially also looking at the other centers, the other cities that are picking up in terms of the rate of crimes in the country.
Mutaru, when you look at the police service issued a notice last week that they're going to be embarking on a program to arrest recalcitrant motor riders. How important is this exercise at this time, especially when in the report we can see that motor riders are at number 2 in the cause of accidents?
In security, we often say that the security measures you put in place is a function of your threat perception. So depending on your perception of the source of threat, your measures are going to come from that angle. In this case, it is significantly viewed as, the motorbike riders are seen as a source of crime in the country, and it's largely because they've been involved in many crime situations. And so to focus on motor riders is a legitimate, act, and it's something we should expect to bring down the rate of crime, especially involving motorbike riders, and especially in the urban centers and areas that have, nearly
the absence of government. And so we expect to see some significant improvement.
We also see on the report
the crimes in that angle.
Yeah, Mutaru, there's also an increase in violent crimes. How can we tackle this increase?
So the issue of violent crimes being, recurrent or being normalized, we want to look at it from the angle of the measures in place to deal with crime. It's a situation that paints a picture of criminals that are not deterred. There's a lack of deterrence. There's a general sense of lack of deterrence on the part of criminals. And so they have the bravery, the effrontery to engage in violent crimes in a brazen manner, especially on daylight situations. And we've seen that happen. And it's largely because there isn't any sense of deterrence on the part of law enforcement. And so we need to go beyond the traditional security and ensure that we employ innovative approaches to dealing with crime and ensure that we secure successful prosecution for individuals involved in crime. Today, in the 21st century, this day and age, we should not be talking about the use of should be talking about how we make it better. We still do not have body cameras, these officers, in dealing with crime. We still are not seeing the significant feature of CCTV cameras in public places in the prosecution of crimes. And so these things too are necessary to ensure that no matter where and how you commit a crime, no matter how brazen it is, no matter how violent or how much violence is involved, we should be able to successfully arrest and ensure successful prosecution and deterrent punishment to ensure that we do not have that being normalized in our society. And so we have to look at that.
Right. Mutaru, thank you for that. Not enough deterrence, he is saying, not enough CCTVs also, and he is associating this with the increase in violent crimes. But let me go to the line where we have Adib. Hello, Adib, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear. Right.
Let me just find out from you, do you think these are the causes of the increase in these crimes that we're seeing? Not enough deterrence, as mentioned by Mutaru?
Well, it's part. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear Mutaru and on the other line. But, I do appreciate that issue of not enough deterrence. But before I come to that, let me quickly say that there's a direct correlation between the number of illicit weapons in the system and crime. Weapons give criminals some invincibility of some sort. It gives them the motivation to perpetrate crimes. There are instances when the criminals feel they have more firepower than even that of the police. And it's a fact. In some cases, they really do. Okay? So if the more weapons you have in the system, the more crime you're bound to record. For example, in the U.S., where there are more weapons in the hands of private citizens than that of the whole U.S. military, results in over 30,000 people getting killed as a result of gun-inflicted wounds. The same can be said of Brazil. But in Japan, they have reduced gun deaths to almost zero because they have one of the tightest gun ownership regulations in the world. There are some years in which the number of people killed in the whole year in Japan is as little as 3 as a result of gun violence. So we need to really look at the issue closely. Secondly, the issue of deterrence. You see, most of the investigation processes in Ghana is manual. I've had the opportunity to speak with detectives, and they tell me that, it's so laborious investigating crime in Ghana because almost all of the processes involved is manual. But if we have systems in place, such as DNA, biometric, etc., it would really make their work much more easier and it would increase the probability of getting caught when you perpetrate a crime. And in criminology, there's what we call rational choice theory. It's simply based on the premise that a potential criminal is human. He has the capacity or capability to juxtapose the risk factors against the reward factors before he perpetrates a crime. So once he feels that it's likely I will not be caught, he will perpetrate that crime. But if he feels that he will be caught when he perpetrates that crime, he will be invariably disincentivized from perpetrating the crime in the first place. So we need to deal with the issue of crime and investigation. Last year, as at the first half of 2021, 313 murder cases was reported to the police, and this is according to the police CIC. But out of those 313, they were able to ascertain that 306 were real murders. But out of that period, only one of the 306 murders was closed. So you see, there is a high probability that when you perpetrate a crime in Ghana, you are highly likely not to be caught. And that is what is also motivating these criminals to go on their criminal crime spree.
Adib, one of the suggestions as part of increasing CCTV surveillance is that these footages should be released occasionally to the public to promote awareness and also serve as a deterrent, because they get to know that somebody is watching. Do you think this will in any way improve or reduce crime?
Well, I am a CCTV entrepreneur, and I appreciate the importance of CCTV in crime prevention. It's very much part and parcel of what we call situational crime prevention. CCTV cameras is not meant to only catch criminals. In fact, 90% reason for having CCTV installed is to prevent the crime from happening. That is why when you go to properties or premises where there's CCTV, they write on the walls boldly, CCTV in operation here. It's not for the beautification or aesthetic bit of it, but it's to raise awareness over the fact that we have CCTV operating here, and whatever you do, you'll be captured on camera. However, I or publishing the video, because if you do that, the criminals would, find other means to dodge the CCTV, whether they wear caps or they wear masks, or there are so many ways they are able to do that, or helmets and all that. Or they might also be able to tell the blind spot. Every CCTV camera has a blind spot. So when you publish it, they would analyze it, and they'll be able to tell that when I stand here, the CCTV camera will not capture me. Okay, so rather what I would suggest is still images of the CCTV, of the faces of perpetrators, rather than the video itself. Okay, so at least if anybody has any information about the person, whether the face appears or not, even the outfit, that could also help in breaking the cases before the police.
Adib, when we look at the figures in Ashanti region, we see that Ashanti region recorded more murders. Why? What is happening there?
Well, I mean, Ashanti region is a business hub. A lot of business activities happening. There are so many reasons people murder, and in criminology.
Hello, Adib. Okay, we keep having problems with the line for Adib. We apologize for those interruptions, but we'll get Adib back on the line. I was just trying to find out from him why we have so many murders going on in the Ashanti region. But Mutaru is still on the line, and I'll just go to Mutaru with the same question. Mutaru, what is going on in the Ashanti region? Right, I have issues with Mutaru's line also, but let me just take you through the highlights of the report that we have. Now, when you look at the report, there's a lot of data that shows, especially related to the question I was just asking, that in the Ashanti region, it's actually been described as the murder capital of the country, returning 23% of all homicide cases reported across the country in 2021. 23% of homicide cases across the country in 2021 were recorded in the Ashanti region. The Central region also dominated reported aggravated assault cases across the country by also returning 23% of all aggravated assault cases reported for that period. So we see that the Central region does not have very good news there where aggravated assault cases are concerned. Now, the use of firearms also reported that there's an increase in violent crime. This is closely associated with the use of firearms in the hands of the wrong people. And we see that has caused violent crime to increase, and for the third year running, increasing from 2020 by 57.6%. That's what the report shows us. We also see that there's data suggesting that more than 70%, and we will just have the slides on the screen there for you to understand exactly what is going on. You can see for yourself that the data shows also that 70% of the top 3 incidents of violent crimes occurred outside the places of abode of the victims. When we're speaking to Nana Yawakwada, he was trying to explain that this is as a result of a reduction in police surveillance on the roads, the highways, and outside most communities. So criminals seem to be targeting their attacks on places where they believe that there isn't much police surveillance, so they are out there attacking people in those areas. 70% of top 3 incidents of violent crimes occurred outside places of abode of the victims. So this is important to note. I'm just going to go back to Mutaru again, who's back on the line. Mutaru, can you hear me? Right, unfortunately, the lines are not very reliable there, but Adib is also back on the line. Hello, Adib.
Hello.
Yes. Adib, let's go back to what we're discussing before the line dropped there.
Okay. So you asked about the reason for the spike in murders in the Ashanti region. So I was trying to pose it that before we'll be able to make sense of that, we need to identify why people murder. And there are 3 major reasons. 1, the motive. Secondly, the means. And third, the opportunity. Ashanti region and Kumasi specifically is a bustling city. There are a lot of economic activities ongoing. Business deals might go bad. People might be offended by other people's actions. There's rural-urban drift into Kumasi and its attendant security issues. Largely, it can also be due to leadership. I always say that 80% of the problems the police is confronting is got to do with leadership. And I remember clearly when COP, the former Ashanti Regional Police Commander, Kofi, is it? No. Kofi Boache, when he was the commander there, there was a drop. There was a drop in crime, especially in robberies and murder in the area. So perhaps he did something right that the current administration is not doing. So I think it's a wake-up call for action, stemming the tide of murders in Kumasi and of course in Accra.
Adib, what about the Central region? We see that they also dominated in reported aggravated assault cases. 23% over there too.
Okay, most of the issue in Central region is centered in Kasua.
I see.
Kasua is also another melting pot. We have a lot of people coming from all over Ghana in looking for better economic opportunities and living in Kasua and other inner cities throughout the country. They get here, they settle, they have spouses, they start families, and things don't always go according to plan, particularly economic-related issues. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who is currently embroiled in a domestic violence issue from Kaswa, and when you go into the nitty-gritty, even though they talk about a lot of issues, the person is disrespectful, the person is this, the person is that, in the end, when you get to the bottom, it's about money, economic, okay? So I think a lot of this issue is about the economics, it's about joblessness, it's about people not having access to basic necessities of life. Secondly, a lot of it has to do with impunity. If one is assaulted today, nothing is done about that. Tomorrow, another person is assaulted, hoping that you would be left off the hook. I remember I suffered a home invasion in Kaswa some years back. I reported to the police in that area. They said they would come today. Nobody has shown face there. Sometimes people complain that when they even go to the police to report, it's like the police is doing them a favor, and if you don't even have money, your case dies on arrival, because you would have to look for a tactic to even move the police to your place for any arrest to be made or any investigation to be conducted and all that. As a result,
but Adib, since we are seeing clear, we seem to understand the problem that is happening there in Kaswa. So how do we diffuse that particular